More now on the breaking news. The group chat of top Trump administration officials with major geopolitical consequences and a question. Should there be legal ramifications too? Trump national security brass used signal will plot a strike on Yemen, potentially endangers national security. It breaks protocol, but does it break the law? Democrats say they want to find out.
This debacle requires a full investigation into how this happened, the damage it created, and how we can avoid it in the future.
All right, joining us now in our fifth seat at the table is CNN senior legal analyst Ellie Honig. The question is, do we need a lawyer? Here.
I would recommend everybody should get a lawyer. As a basic,
What laws are we talking about?
so let me just say before we get into the specifics of the law, I don't like to do the thing where you just look at the law in black and white, the checklist, and go check, check, crime. Because I was a prosecutor for a long time. You have to go to the next step. And by the way, if we look at the Hillary Clinton case, the Joe Biden case, the Donald Trump case, those extra factors were considered. But let me give you the lay of the land here, the law. So first of all, was this grossly negligent? I'm sort of interested to see what people think, but was this grossly negligent is part one. And then part two, was classified information removed from its proper place of custody? Those are the two tests. I'm very interested to see what the panel thinks here, but grossly negligent in the removal of classified information or sensitive national security information from its proper place of custody.
People?
Well, is it grossly negligent if, I don't know how this guy was added to the chain, and apparently they don't either. What if it were some technical glitch or a simple mistake? Does that reach the level of grossly negligent?
No, if it was a technical glitch, no. But I think the question I would be focused on as a prosecutor is not so much how was Mr. Goldberg, Jeffrey Goldberg, added to the chain, but them being on the chain in the first place. I would be asking myself the question if I was back at DOJ, is the use of signal to discuss this stuff in itself grossly negligent?
Well, again, as Scott pointed out, this was something that was preloaded on their phones. Do we not believe that members of the cabinet actually
Facebook
conversed
is
about it?
I'm not convincing this guy was told this, but signal's not supposed to be used, I'm told by others, on government devices here. I'm not saying it wasn't there.
That's what they're saying.
But
again, this is something that if you investigated it or looked into it, that you would find out.
But I think even if it was loaded on their devices, what Ellie's asking here is, by placing this conversation on Signal, was it removed from where it should be, in a skiff, or, to somewhere where it should be, which is on a social media?
Well, it goes to the nature of the information, right? Is it secure enough, or did it reach the level of classification that it couldn't have been shared? I don't know the answer.
This wasn't a fun group chat to decide what we're going to order Sweetgreen for lunch. This is human lives on the line that was happening imminently. I don't care if you mixed up the trade representative's initials with a reporter. The reality is that if you had added someone who wasn't a responsible journalist, they could have leaked that immediately to the wrong sources, and American lives could have been lost. That is what we are missing here. So if there is not consequences for this, what does that say about how we uphold our values as Americans? What does that say to our foreign adversaries that people can be that reckless and get away with it? What does it say to the millions of people who are putting their lives on the line every day for this country that their leader is being so reckless?
But I think the overall premise actually speaks more to that than just this mistake. This is definitely a mistake, point stipulated. But this was the Trump administration doing an act that actually is welcomed by Europe, by many other partners around the world. This is the Trump administration guaranteeing the freedom of
Not by
navigation.
J.D. Vance.
Well, J.D. Vance, it's interesting because this was supposed to be a private chat. And we do see some disagreement in private in the administration, but we also see them rally behind President Trump, who made the correct decision of launching the strike, guaranteeing the freedom of navigation in the Red Sea.
Who does the investigation? If there is an investigation, who would lead this investigation normally?
Well, let's go through the possibilities here, right? The United States Department of Justice, I'll bet anybody here that will not get off the ground. There will not be an investigation launched by this Justice Department. By the way, it might be the kind of case you would ordinarily appoint special counsel where you may have a conflict of interest. Again, not happening. So take them out. It's not going to be a state or local crime. So this is a uniquely federal crime. So forget about your state AGs, your DAs, your Alvin Braggs and the like. Congress, you know who controls Congress. I'm not sure how much power the minority party in Congress has to meaningfully investigate, but that's about it.
As an immediate matter, in the White House counsel's office, I'm certain, has an immediate need to look into the actions of the employees of the building. I'm sure that's already underway, preservation of documents and so on and so forth. That's pretty common, but that's not necessarily a law enforcement agency. But
because I I think the biggest mistake we could make is to treat this as though it's a political issue, as though there are two opposing points of view here. This is a national security issue, and I appreciate your question, Ellie, and respect your legal analysis, but I just don't, that question is asked and answered. Of course this is dangerous. I use Signal. It's not preloaded on your phone in the sense that everybody's already automatically in your group chat. I mean, I treat my own Signal chats with more care and more discretion than our Secretary of Defense. That is a huge deal. And to your point, no, of course the DOJ is not going to investigate this. Pam Bondi is too interested in what Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is saying about Elon Musk, the co-president of the United States. I think this is a dangerous time, and we have to look at this. According to the reporting, Waltz is the person who added Jeffrey Goldberg to this chat. Now you imagine who Waltz might have in his phone. Who else might he have in his phone that he could have accidentally added? To your point, Daniel, he could have added an adversarial relationship to this chat. This put human lives at danger. It put our national security at danger. So I think anytime we talk about this and it becomes whataboutism, what about Hillary, what about Biden did? Okay, that's all in the past. What we're dealing with right now is an inept president who is employing people who have no idea what they're doing, and they're making like plausible mistakes like this, which is very dangerous. So as a patriot, Scott, I find it really troubling because they ran on this whole idea of this pseudo patriotism, this regressive masculine patriotism. Yet everything they're doing runs against making America great.
Well,
it was never great. So I'm not going to say the again part, but making America great. You're trying to defend the indefensible. Yeah, I absolutely feel that way. I absolutely feel that way. And I think if you had the history that my people had in this country, that you might have a modicum of understanding and respect for that. America was never great for me.
I think
But
when
I
we
understand that
talk
you're
later
trying
about why
to
the
get me
Democratic
great.
Party is so unpopular,
I'm
is
not
that
here to
America
represent the Democrats.
is not
I'm
great.
here representing me, and I think it is a common understanding that America may have been great for you. It was not great for me. I think there are people who want her to fulfill that promise. But the point of this discussion right now is the national security of this country, which your party put at risk. I'm not a member of the Democratic Party. I'm not here to represent them. But for me, as a journalist, I'm telling you, this was a huge problem. So instead of attacking Jeffrey Goldberg, what they could do is act like men and own this mistake, since they ran on this aggressive masculinity campaign. Act like men and say, you know what, we failed. But instead, what you heard was this president yet again lie and say, oh, I don't know anything about it. Soon enough, it's going to be, I don't know this Hextech guy that well. It's a consistent party of lies with this guy, and it's disturbing that there are so many people willing to defend this instead of saying, yes, this is a problem. They have not taken responsibility. They can set aside our political differences.
The White House has literally admitted that the messages are authentic.
Who?
And that
Because Donald Trump
and
did
that
it.
Brian, he's the spokesperson for the National Security Council.
Well, the president did
So
it.
there you go. And number two, they
And
have said
we just heard from
they
him
have
that
said
he did.
they have said they're looking into and trying to figure out how this happened. You know, you raise the issue of patriotism. I think the Patriotic Act was what the president did in ordering the strikes in the first place. Go back in time. It was Biden who took the Houthis off the terrorist list and let this problem fester for 4 years. The only reason this situation occurs today is because they've been harassing ships, harassing our Navy, and finally Trump shows up, redesignates them, goes to
The ships
war,
are still not
goes
using the Red Sea, though.
goes to war,
The ships have not returned to the Red Sea.
and the strike and the military precision at which it was carried out was incredible. So what we have here, you raise the issue of patriotism. The Patriotic Act is for the commander-in-chief to do the right thing, which he did in ordering the strike in the first
All
place.
right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break here. Breaking news in the fight between the judge and the Trump Department.